Well, hey, friends, and welcome back to the Creative Shop Talk podcast. It's Wendy Batten, and we are here today to talk about, I was going to say feelings, but that's not really what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about what to do when things go sideways and how we feel about that. And I thought I would share today, okay, I'm going to back up a little bit and share why I'm sharing about this, which might sound kind of meta, but I was supposed to be doing another podcast today, and there were some cancellations and some things that happened, so I couldn't do that today. So what do I do? What do we do when things go sideways and we have to readjust? And we're all like, I know, pros at readjusting and redoing and all of the things, but I thought today I would share with you a strategy that I use regularly. I teach to my clients. I actually use with my kids. I have taught it to my adult kids, if you can believe it, and a lot of friends. And it's something that I learned, I want to say probably 8 years ago when business was busy and crazy and just trying to manage all the things. So if you're trying to manage all the things, and if you are a feeling person, a feeling type person, which a lot of us are, if you're listening to the podcast, you're probably heart-centered and passionate and care about your people and care about things. So you probably have a lot of emotion around this. And running a retail business is not for the faint of heart. And there is a lot of feeling and a lot of emotion that happens. And there is a lot of growth in those areas. For me, I'm speaking for me personally. Maybe it will help you as well too. So today on the podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you some thoughts about, actually it's not thoughts. It is thoughts, but it's about a strategy that I learned, and I'm going to share it with you. So hang on, let's go. Let's dive in. Let's get your thoughts under control as we grow these beautiful, amazing retail businesses. Running a retail business doesn't have to be so hard. Welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast, the go-to podcast for creative shop owners, studio owners, and independent retailers. I'm your host, Wendy Batten, retail business coach and mentor. Each week, I'll share simple, proven business strategies, inspiring stories from fellow retailers, and advice from industry experts. Together, we're going to work to find the success you want from your retail business with more profits in your till and a little more joy in your life. All right, what I'm going to teach today is something that it was a big shift for me, and it is a big shift for a lot of my clients. I actually remind my mastermind members, my Level Up mastermind members of this regularly. They're probably a little sick of me talking about it, and I know that all of them listen to the podcast and they'll be like, oh, not again, but it's always a good reminder, I think. This I learned first from listening to a podcast, and I cannot remember, and I've tried. I actually wanted to really remember who to give credit to, because it was a big shift for me. It might have been Amy Porterfield. I'm not really sure. I can't remember. But it was many years ago I first learned about this. And I know that it comes from what I can tell from Brooke Castillo, who's a life coach, and she's amazing. And I love her stuff and all of that. So I think she's the one to credit for this. So I didn't make this up, but it has been a tool that I have used personally for a very long time. It's a tool that I use with my family, with my clients, with my friends. I mean, that I teach them to use, because things go sideways and circumstances create lots of bumps in the road. And I know we all know that. I know we've all experienced that. I know that you're probably thinking of things, but some things have come up over the last couple of weeks that prompted me to really want to talk about this today. And again, I'm supposed to be recording a whole other podcast with a guest today, and I had to record a podcast so we could get one out. And the circumstances were that person couldn't come, and that's great, and that's fine. Things happen. It's a circumstance, right? Things can become disappointing maybe, and how we react to them is what we're going to talk about. This essentially is building our leadership skills, our CEO hat on. So in the last couple of weeks I've had, and I made a note before I jumped on, I thought I'm going to just remind myself of all of the things that some of my clients have experienced over the last just couple of weeks. And staff issues trumped, the list. It was the first thing I put down. Was I've had clients who've said, People call in sick. I mean, things happen. It's a circumstance, right? Or they've had staff issues with repeated issues with problems, like I keep telling them to do this and they're not doing that. I've had a client share with me, having a lot of issues with their product development, like things are just not going the way they should go, delayed deliveries, family issues that come up, and that comes into our business, right? If you have a family crisis issue, something you have to take care of, that comes into our business, right? We're running lifestyle businesses and our businesses run around our lives run around our business. It's all intertwined for most of us. For me, I know it is. Planned events. So I had a client who had a beautiful, gorgeous event planned, and there was a major power outage in her whole community the evening of her beautiful, well-planned, gorgeous event. It was just devastating for her. It affected everything. Their weather has been a big thing. There's been storms and things happening. There's also product launches. So a client had a new product that was coming out. It was actually being launched, a national product was being launched in several stores, and her order was lost. So, and I know, like, those of you know what I'm talking about. Like, she looked and looked, and like everybody else was launching this product, and like, right? Like, you just so frustrating. Another client had a flood. Amy, check. Amy, check from Schoolhouse Salvage. They had a big flood in their shop. So, we have circumstances and things that happen to us regularly, and the holidays are coming up. So I really wanted to talk about this because, again, I'm hearing about all these things. These things are happening, and maybe it's even bigger things that might be affecting you. Maybe it is your community is concerned about, any kind of economic turn or whatever, like, or your staff quit, or I don't know. There's things that happen, right? Things happen. And again, with the holidays coming up, we have to be on our A game, right? We have to be on our leadership A game. It's important. And we know that. And, we know. Right? I know, like, I know, Wendy, but it's really, really easy for our attitude, our emotions, the way we're reacting to everything to affect our well-being. First of all, our well-being, right? If that thing in our head just turns on us and we just, the flood comes or the product doesn't come, it's really easy to get really sad. It's really easy to get mad. It's really easy to get angry. It's really easy to blame. It's really easy to, right? You guys know, right? I know you know. So this is where we have to learn to handle a crisis, which, again, I know we've all handled big circumstances and crisis, but we have to learn to handle disappointment, I guess, and learn how to be that leader, learn how to manage our mind around this. So I'm not throwing a bunch of woo-woo at you. This is actually a framework that works really, really well, but it is exhausting sometimes trying to manage all of our feelings, right? It's really exhausting trying to manage everybody's expectations and all of the things. So this is one way I'm hoping that you will find ease in that. And this is for those of you who are bold enough to realize that maybe you're reactive to things. I'm emotional. I heard recently somebody say that since the pandemic and since everything, that their emotions are paper thin. Like they can cry on a dime, they can get angry on a dime. And man, did that ever hit home for me, because I'm the same. I don't know why. I can get easily disappointed. I can get easily sad. I can get easily excited maybe. And it's on a thread. And I feel like a lot of my clients, a lot of my retailers that I work with, a lot of my inner circle members, I feel like a lot of people I meet on the street, just people that I know, we're all so reactive. So if you're bold enough to realize that you need to maybe manage that, this is hopefully going to work for you. And here's the reason we have to manage that, not just for our own well-being, but I want you to think about how you're showing up for your staff, how you're showing up as a leader, how you're showing up in your business, with your vendors, with your clients, with your team, with your family, with your people around you, with the post office guy, right? Like, or girl, it's how we're showing up in the world. If you're going to the bank and you're cranky, it's just people see you're in a community and it's a lot of responsibility, right? You are the face of your business, and we are the ones who set the tone. And 99% of the time, you're doing everything great, and your mood is great, or you're showing up the way you're supposed to. But then the circumstances hit, and it's like, how do you react to that? People see that. People feel that you are leading those people, especially your team. They will follow your example every day of the week. If a circumstances hit and you're flying off the rail, or you're angry, or you're dismissive, or whatever it is, they see that, whether they're 20-year-olds or whether they're old like me, when they're older, they will follow your lead. And so being the leader is really a lot of responsibility. And again, your family, everybody sees this. So we have to learn to handle and manage our mind. We have to learn to handle and manage our role and the way we show up. So I wanted to share I guess how we do this, how we do it. And again, I want to remind you that your thoughts, your thoughts affect your wellness and your peace of mind. And that's probably the most important thing. And it's ridiculously simple. If I feel that this is ridiculously simple and ridiculously doable when we have it in our head. So if you're able, grab a piece of paper and a pen, because I'm going to give you an acronym. And again, this is something that when I first heard it, I digested it, and then I started to practice this, and I still practice this. I'm told a lot of people will say that I'm a good leader in that I show up by example, I guess. I guess I get a lot of feedback, and I'm like, I still have a lot of emotional thoughts around things as well too, but it's what happens after, right? So this is what we're going to talk about today. So it's called CTFAR. Again, this goes back to Brooke Castillo, who is a amazing life coach. So she has her whole program. I actually didn't know that Brooke did this. I just looked this up, and I know who Brooke is, and I'm like, yeah, that's for sure Brooke, right? So, and I had heard it from another podcaster, which wasn't Brooke, many years ago. So CTFAR, C like cat, T like Tom, F like fox, A like airplane, and R like Romeo. So CTFAR, that's the acronym. And here's what we're going to do with that. So C is your circumstances. This is circumstances that are outside of your control, things that happen. And I always remind myself, is this a fact? Is this true? And I say that because sometimes that's not true. Like, I think things are happening. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Everything's awful. And many of us maybe know, what I'm talking about as far as, the whole horrible things are happening. That's not a circumstance that's actually happening. Is this really happening? Is the sky really falling? But having your shop flood, or getting an employee, or like having an employee who doesn't show up, or having a major snowstorm in the middle of your big event, or having a massive power outage, those are facts. It happened. It's a circumstance out of my control. I can't do anything about that, right? I can't do anything about, if I've done my due diligence, if I have you're launching a product and it's just not going to make it for the launch. It's just not coming. It's an impossible. I've done what I can do. It's out of my control. The circumstance is out of my control. So the circumstances immediately makes us think, right? That's the T, our thoughts. So under our thoughts, it's how we think about it immediately. Like, as soon as this thing happens, the circumstances happen, it's how we think about it. So our thoughts come from our opinion, our observation, maybe our bias towards things. So immediately I think, oh crap, right? I'm going to lose my business, or this is going to be awful, or whatever it is, like, great, like we just, like, it goes this whole direction. We all know what I mean by that, right? So immediately you think of something, and thoughts cause feelings. That's what the F is for, feelings. So feelings are emotion, like, we're driven by emotion. Everything we do is driven by emotion, which is good because we want people to fall in love with our shops, and we want people to buy our products. So that's all great emotional buying. But when it comes to this circumstance that we had this thought about, and now we feel. We feel angry, pissed. We feel maybe defeated. We feel like, what is it that you're feeling? What is the emotion that you're feeling? And we use, like, humans use feelings as fuel. That is the fuel right there, that feeling, and it just propels us to do something, right? That's what our feelings, it's how we work, it's how we're wired, and we can't do anything about that. Our feelings create the action, right? So I'm really pissed that this thing happened, or I'm really, sad, or I'm really whatever. So now I'm just going to like blow up at everybody in the team, or I'm going to be angry, or I'm going to be, and I'm going to just go in and tear a strip off somebody, or I'm going to do the thing, or I'm going to be just really moody about it and cranky and trying to use a nicer word. And you all know what I'm trying to say. But that's your action. So that's something you do or you don't do. Maybe your action is that you just give up and you just like, whatever. Like, the flood came in. I feel defeated by that. I'm sad about it. We're just going to close the door. We're not doing the big sale we're supposed to do tonight. That's whatever. That's the action I'm taking. I'm not doing anything. Or the action could be retreating and hiding, completely hiding. Like, and this is what I teach my adult children who probably aren't listening to this, but there's some things that happen and outside of our control, and we thought about it we feel a certain way about it. And then we either do or we don't do. So what do we do in this action stage? And then, to be honest, the R, it's going to make clear sense to you. It's the results. Our results are we are completely in control of the results, because we get control from what we did or we didn't do. So how do we use all this in our business? How do we, what is Wendy, where are we going with this? We can get control by going right back up to the thought. So the circumstances happen. Immediately our thought is this. It's whatever it is, whatever your thoughts that came, what you think about it, your opinions, again, your observations. This is where we have control. How are we going to think about this? I'm going to use Amy again as an example. Amy had a flood. Amy's team were like, well, crap, that's not awesome. We have a big sale tonight. They had a big live sale coming up. We have crappy water running all through our warehouse and our shop. What are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to have fun. They decided to just make the best of it, have some fun, and make the best of it. And so that was their thought about it. They had to just immediately go from circumstances to, how can we make this a positive thought? Like, how can we do that? So then that changed their feelings. So they were, let's have some fun with it. The fun created an action. They videotaped themselves cleaning and everybody kind of pumping the music and doing the thing. And then the results were everybody was following along. They had an amazing sale that night. The same thing about, I'm thinking about one of my clients who had a fantastic product launch coming up. It was supposed to be, this new product coming in. It was supposed to come in today to be delivered in a couple of days. And what do we do when we find out, it's not coming? And holy moly, I'm going to disappoint all these people. So what do we do? She had to just decide not to talk about it and just lose the money and be all cranky. Nope. The thought was, what can we do? And she ended up doing a whole different event and around other products and kind of having fun with it. And then the store was packed, and then she did a pre-sale about it with it. And, our actions will drive our results, but it starts with our thoughts. So our circumstances are out of our control. Sometimes the circumstances do feel like they're out of control, don't you think, guys? Anyhow, the circumstances are usually out of our control. They affect our thoughts. Right there with our thoughts is where we're going to make a decision. That's where your leadership ability comes in. That's where your CEO hat has to come on. This is where you get to decide how you're going to think about it and how you're going to show up for your team and show up for everybody and your own self, right? So that will affect your feelings. So you're not going to go in all cranky or sad or whatever. You're going to take action. The action that you will take will be more positive. It will show your team that you're action orientated and solution mindset. To be honest, this is where this all comes from. And that will drive your results. Might not be the results you originally planned, but it will still you will still see better results. The results might just be that your team see what a great leader you are and they have more respect for you, or your vendors do, or your community does, or whatever. This will help you elevate yourself as a leader in your mind too, right? Anybody else have that little committee in the back of their mind that says, this is just awful and things are bad? And, that committee, I call it the negative committee or the imposter syndrome committee or the, all these little committees. And, I kind of love that analogy because personally I have all these little committees in my head. So when you take action in a positive mindset, so your thoughts, if you can control your thoughts, right after that circumstance has happened, like process, think about it. How am I going to choose to decide about this? Or what am I going to choose to think about this, I guess? You get to decide how you're going to think about it. That's what I'm trying to say. You get to decide how you're going to think about it and what your thoughts are going to be and how you're going to show up, which will give you the feelings and the actions and the results. So I hope you found that helpful as I have found that in the past, as helpful as I think a lot of my clients have. I keep saying I've had other people say, yes, you're in my head, Wendy. I know as soon as this thing happened that I had to, we have to show up as a leader. So a leader for yourself. Again, let's shut down that committee that might be saying, it's just not worth it, or I can't do this, or I'm not capable, or what am I going to do? I'm going to be all cranky pants, showing up in a positive solution oriented mindset is such a game changer. It's been a game changer for me. I will be honest, always thinking that way. And again, I guess it's my goal is for you to feel confidence and inspire you to, or spark something, maybe not inspire you to, spark the change for you so that when you're feeling that thing building up, right? That flame of whatever it is, like this is just whatever the circumstance is bringing up to you, that you will take a minute and I will be in your head and you will say, okay, what are my thoughts about this? Because your thoughts will result in your results. And we do get to control the outcome, the results of what's going to happen at the end of this day by the way we choose to think about it. So again, I hope you found this helpful. I hope you put it into practice. I always say, I'm sure many of you have heard me say before, if you can teach this to somebody else, I learned that from Greg McKeown, who wrote Essentialism and Effortless. And if you can teach this to somebody else, like go teach it to your kids or one of your employees or somebody else, it helps you retain it better. And if you could share it, we love it. We always love it when you share the podcast, maybe with another fellow retailer. It helps us spread the word. I've heard people call that podcast currency, and I would be so grateful if you could do that and or leave us a review. Let me know. I would love to know if this has been helpful for you. I know we have a lot of listeners out there. I have had some wonderful conversations lately with new listeners, with people who've telling me now that they're binging the podcast, and I'm so grateful. And I would love for you to drop into my Instagram or over on Facebook and come say hi. I love having conversations, and I'd love to know if this has been helpful for you, and if you put it into practice. If you ever get to use it, let me know. I'm sure there's a circumstance that will come up sometime over this holiday season coming up that you might have to put this into practice too. I hope it's not a bad circumstance, but things happen. This is retail, right? That's what happens. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll see you here next week here on the Creative Shop Talk podcast. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I'm so glad that you're here to join us this week, and I hope you found value in what we're sharing here. I want to remind you that our website has all of the show notes. You can find it at wendybatten.com/podcast. Everything that you need to hear about today's podcast is there. Also an opportunity if you need to reach out to me. If I can support you in any way whatsoever, please feel free to reach out. So thanks for joining us. Please leave a review, subscribe if you can, and never miss an episode. We hope to see you back here again next week. Thanks, my friend. Have a great week.